Do you know the secrets of making friends?
Welcome to the first ever Patreon exclusive.
Is this the right posture?
Robot!
Hello!
Hi, everyone.
What's interesting is, and of course I don't know, I didn't read about him in the comics, but from the little bit I could devise from that scene is that Isaiah Bradley was actually potentially a good Captain America. He seems tortured now, emotionally, from whatever happened, and we don't know. But I have a feeling that back then they still were taking the time to make sure that this next super soldier, this next Cap, is not only physically applicable, but also mentally and emotionally and morally applicable. I'm not sure they did that with our new Cap.
No, you're right. And then in the books, the reason why Steve Rogers works so well as Cap is because he had that moral fortitude to do the right thing, just because it was the right thing. We know that Isaiah Bradley also had that as well. There was some tweaks from the comics. In the show, he's in jail for 30 years, where in the comics, it was actually more 3. And you're right. He was a much better. Difference. That is a very big difference. Yes. But you're right. Isaiah Bradley was a really good Cap, as a really good fill-in. But with the political culture and the racial culture at the time, it wasn't something that was talked about, which even Bucky in the episode talked about as well and says, hey, I didn't tell anybody. No one else knew about it. And Sam obviously was very visibly upset about not talking that there was a second Captain America. I'm really excited for the possibilities that this is bringing up, and we'll talk later about one other possibility and one other thing that's coming up in our spoiler section about this scene. But it was really cool that they were able to give a nod to the second Captain America as the recurring theme of trying to produce more super soldiers after Captain America went on ice. And then we're starting to see that progress throughout the entire series of there's always this continuous trying to recreate Stephen Rogers as Captain America, as a super soldier, but not fully successfully doing so, because ultimately the super soldier serum broadens and multiplies everything that you have in you, which is why it didn't work for the Red Skull and turned him bad. So it's going to be intriguing if they give the super serum to John Walker, if it exemplifies and amplifies some of the tendencies that we've already started to see in this episode of him being a little more gray than Captain America, a little more less moral, if you will.
I was kind of shocked seeing that scene so quickly in this series. I know, Brian, you spoke about Isaiah Bradley last episode, how he was casted and he might come up in the series. And I was kind of shocked and impressed that they brought it in the second episode and how impactful that scene was to not only Bucky, but also Sam, realizing, hey, there was someone that he could have looked up to as Captain America growing up. And he was just like very, very shocked, as was I, in the fact that they actually did that scene so perfectly in the second episode. I thought it was very well done.
Be sure to subscribe to our podcast. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram at CKC Podcast. And if you'd like to support Jason and Christina and would love even more content, including bonus casts and movie reviews, join our Patreon at patreon.com/CKC Podcast.